प्रभु के आजा रे। वेदवाणी पूरन कर ले वेद पठन प्रभु का होने रे। इसका हर एक वचन
सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्ति। So today we are going to be doing the summary of the 8th chapter. As you know, I'm at Rishihood University and some of people have joined us for the class today. Joyce, your name is showing as Mariam.
It's my middle name, and I'm
Oh,
using
okay.
the laptop, so that's why I will change it.
No, it's okay. I know it's Joyce, even if it says Mariam. So we are going to be doing judgment. Why is one man's reason another's absurdity? We have been studying how eventually we reach a judgment, we reach an opinion on something. So how do we reach that judgment? How do we reach that opinion? There are two ways. One is you just think it is so. It's your perception. And the other one is when you go through some form of reasoning. Now, whether it's a right judgment or a wrong judgment can be determined only in terms of the reasoning, because then we can check your reasoning. But nobody can talk about perception because that's just the way you happen to see it. So nobody can make any comment on that. Nanduri Sampat Vamsi, you are new to the class. Oh, are you Vamsi from the class? Oh. Vamsi, is that you from the Science of Living class?
No, madam.
Oh, okay, sorry. You're joining today the class for the first time?
For the first time.
Oh, okay, okay. Welcome. Anyone else is new? No. So we know something either just by perception, in the sense, this is what you think it is. Why do you think it is? Nobody knows. Or you have reasoned something out, rightly or wrongly, and come to a conclusion. Now, on the reasoning, we can talk, but we can never talk about a perception. And that is why arguments rarely work. How can you argue with somebody and change their particular perception? So we did T.S. Eliot, for he will do as he will do, and there is no doing anything about it. We almost all of us stay in different worlds. Should have brought books for all of you all, no, so that you all could follow. Sorry. We almost stay in sort of different worlds. And in our different world, things are quite, very different. So Samuel Johnson said, "Sir, I have found you an argument, but I'm not obliged to find you an understanding. Sir, I have found you an argument, but I'm not obliged to find you an understanding." Because you can give the best argument, but if the other person doesn't understand, what use is the argument? You say 2 + 2 is 4, and the other person doesn't understand. For those who have been teaching, you may have explained the point, but sometimes a student just doesn't get it. So what can you do? Nothing you can do. You have to wait till he grows up. So our decisions, our thinking is entirely dependent on the kind of nature we have. We studied how we came to a particular thought, right? A vasana. A vasana means an unmanifest desire. A vasana manifests in us as a thought, which manifests as a desire, which manifests as an action. So if I have a vasana for, say, mango, now while you're sitting here, while we're all sitting here, nobody's thinking of mango. But what does it mean I have a vasana? It means I have an inherent or latent desire for it. Now, at the moment, mango is not in my mind, at least until I said anything about a mango, nobody was thinking of it. But if that desire, vasana is there, it will one day come forth as a thought, let me eat a mango. That thought will repeat. Mango, 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 it will repeat until it becomes a desire. I want the mango. This will force an action that you will have the mango. So vasana, thought, desire, action, and actions bring about, remember, actions bring about? Consequences, correct. Actions bring about consequences, bring about results. Those results are what we call
our world,
our life. How is my world or my life the way it is? It is because of what I did. But why did I do those things? Because I had a desire. Why did I have the desire? Because I had the vasana. So you may say, how do you know you have vasanas? It's quite simple. When you go to sleep at night, none of these desires are working. So where is that desire when you're not experiencing the desire? That state of the desire is known as vasana. So in deep sleep, you're in a state of only vasanas. As it starts manifesting as thoughts, we come into what is known as the dream state. And then when our actions also start, when this body also starts, we come into what is known as the waking state. So where are thoughts coming from? It comes. Vasanas create not only our thoughts, but also our world. Because our world is created by
the consequences of our actions.
World is created by
Our actions.
our actions. What is the effect? Can you all hear them answer? You can, okay. So what is the consequence is created by what is the action. So what kind of thoughts we have are classified in Vedanta. Remember what was the classification? They are classified into
3 categories: Rajas, Tamas, Sattva.
Deepraj, say it properly.
Mind and intellect.
Not here. Deepraj, say it properly.
Tamas, Rajas, Sattva.
Very good. They are categorized into tamas, rajas, sattva. So the thoughts that we have, the mental temperaments which we have, the lowest form of these temperament is known as tamas. Tamas means ignorance, indolence, inertia. Kuch karne ka man nahi kar raha. What you experience Sunday morning, kuch nahi karna. That is tamas. Then you get all excited with work. Ye karna hai, wo karna hai, ye karna hai, wo karna hai. Very agitated, very stressed out with work. This is the state of
बरोबर माझं सेशन चाललंय
Rajas.
Rajas. And when your work, when you become a clear thinker, that you're able to achieve in this world without getting all stressed out, then you reach the state of sattva. Sattva is considered the state of transaction because you're achieving more out of your brains, out of your head, not out of running around. So, you all know, right, the famous story of Colgate. Did we do it in the class? You all know the famous story of Colgate?
No.
No? Oh, okay. So there's this guy who went to the chairman of Colgate. You all are familiar with this thing? Okay, he went to the chairman of Colgate and he said, I'll tell you a way by which you will double your profits. So the chairman said, okay, tell. He said, you have to give me $100,000. Okay, I'll give you $100,000. So he said, give, then I'll tell you my idea. No, I won't give you the money. First you tell me the idea. Because naturally, suppose some stupid idea and I'll give you $100,000. So he said, no, you tell me the idea first and then I'll give you the money. And he said, no way. I'll tell you the idea, you'll take my idea, you will never give me the money. So I'm not going to. So they decided, okay, 50-50. 50,000 before you hear and 50% after. So they compromised. You know his idea? Anybody has any? If you heard it before, then
no, I've not heard it before, but I've been following Colgate.
And
His idea was to use it twice a day.
No, that's not the idea. I've been following Colgate, and it's an unethical idea. It was about 40-50 years back. They increased the diameter of the outlet of the tube.
That's correct.
So it's not double. In fact, if you take the area and the volume, it's much more than 3 times if you take the area and the whatever. And then everybody copied. It was unethical. Everybody did that after that. Balsara crashed. Everybody did that. But this is not the only place. There are quite a few companies who've done some similar unethical practices in their sphere. So,
okay, but let's not go into the unethical bit at the moment. The point in this story is this chap got $100,000 for an idea, just an idea. You got what the idea was? All they did, all his idea was is increase the diameter of the tube. So now when we take out toothpaste, we're taking out a lot more. Okay, but he was smart, he gave the idea, but you should be smart and take out less, no? Why are we falling for this? But people fall for it and then their profits have doubled because obviously consumption has increased. 3 times, okay, 3 times. But here is a person who can just think. Let's say there's a story about Ford also like that. An efficiency expert once came to Ford's organization and he did a sort of survey and he decided that this organization is running very efficient. So then he went to Mr. Ford and said, fantastic, I must say your organization is really efficient. So, but only one problem is that there's this man sitting in the corner office over there with his feet up on the table. I really don't see what he's doing. He just seems to be sitting there. So Mr. Ford is supposed to have said last year that man saved our company $50,000. Remember, this is 100 years ago. That's a lot of money. That he saved our company $50,000. And then he continues. He said, at that time, I believe his feet were in the same place. People can make incredible amounts of money without having to move. That element in them that lets them think is their sattvic element. Now, whether they use it for good or bad, that's not under debate at the moment. But that clarity of thought is sattva in an individual. So tamas is the state of ignorance, of laziness, of inertia. Inertia means jo ho raha hai, hone do. It's just the same thing is going on and on and on and on. Suppose a car is traveling at 60 miles an hour. Is it in the state of tamas, rajas, or sattva? You all can also say.
If it's not accelerating, then it's still tamas.
That's good. Tamas. Actually, with the information we have, we cannot say. If it has always been at 60 and it's continuing to be at 60, it's merely inertia. It's just going on doing what it was doing. So that's tamas. If it is with excitement, it is being driven at 60, that's rajas. And if it's driven under full control and governance, then it is sattva. But inertia is the quality of simply continuing something. It's just going on. It's going on because it's going on. There is no other reason. And you find a lot of our life, we do things like that. So the three types of temperaments which we have studied. Dharma is the state of sattva. Sattva is nothing but what Buddha calls the middle path. If you go to one side of it, you are in a sort of dead state. If you go to the other side of it, you are in an overactive state. So that capacity to stay on the razor's edge, stay in the middle, that thin line is known as dharma. To know the exact amount, how much to do. So remember we did that example of the martial arts guy, the karate guy. He knows where to press on the opponent so that he can stun the person. That exact amount in that exact place. If he doesn't press it enough, that opponent will kill him. If he presses it too much, he will kill the opponent. He has to know just the right amount, that what pressure he needs to use in that situation. So that kind of discrimination is what is sattva. Okay, basics of tamas, rajas, sattva clear, right? So then we started studying about different facets of it. What is sattvic knowledge? Who remembers what is sattvic knowledge?
The capacity to see the unity.
Yes. Continue. The capacity to see the unity
Among different information.
Yes, in the diversity. When you're able to see how this various information all becomes one thing, this is called sattvic knowledge. Suppose you say, when you see alag, all different, then that is rajasic knowledge. And when you see only one part and you consider the whole, it becomes tamasic knowledge. So suppose you say, we are all Indians. So that's sattvic. You say, you are Sindhi and you are Punjabi and you are Tamilian and you are whatever. You're saying alag, then that's rajasic knowledge. And if you say only Punjabis are Indian, then that's tamasic knowledge. Where you take a small part and you believe it to be the whole. So we do that with people, right? We see one good quality in him sometimes. Oh, he's a great man. Then you see one bad quality. Then you say, oh, he's a terrible man. You see a small quality, and then you conclude about everything else. So that's tamasic knowledge. Now, remember what we're studying. Why are we studying all these mental temperaments? To show how whatever our nature is, we are going to see it like that. If you have sattvic knowledge, you will think of unity. If you have rajasic knowledge, you will think of diversity. Alag alag, sab alag hai. And if you have tamasic knowledge, you will see a part, think it the whole, and be stubborn about it. So if that is your nature, then nobody's going to be able to argue with you and tell you something else. It is just not going to be possible. Because the mental temperament is like that. Then same thing works in every other sphere. Suppose you have a sattvic intellect. What does the sattvic intellect do?
Able to discriminate between the permanent and the temporary.
Okay, that's in another context. The sattvic intellect is able to choose correctly between what is freedom, what is bondage, what should be done, what should not be done. When we think of freedom, what do we think of? When I'm free to do whatever I feel like, that is freedom. But freedom lies in
Discipline.
discipline. The more disciplined we can be, the more free we are. What does it mean that we will find freedom in discipline? When we do whatever we feel like doing, we actually get bound. Suppose I'm free to put on the AC whenever I want. I have this freedom and I use it. You can't tell me whether I should use the AC. Whether you're feeling cold, not feeling cold, that's your problem, not my problem. I want the AC, I'm going to put it on. Suppose this be my stance. Then what happens? Whenever the AC is there, for whatever reason, then I'm very happy. When the AC is not there, I'm going to be miserable. So how have I lost my freedom? I am not free to be happy. It has to have the AC if I have to be happy. So freedom lies in discipline. If I have always dealt with a matter with discipline, its presence or absence will not affect my happiness. It doesn't mean you don't use the things, but if you use them with discipline, then you're not what?
Bound.
You're not bound by them. Very good. That is your freedom. So we think, all of us think, no, I should be free to do whatever I want. That is your bondage. When you put restriction on yourself, that becomes your freedom. A sattvic intellect is what understands that. Momita, is this what we call karma bandha? Yes. Our inability to have sattvic intellect is what creates karma bandha, the bondage of action. The bondage of action. What is the bondage of action?
The want to.
Very good. The desire. That uncontrollable desire is the bondage of action. If you can do action without the desire, you have no bondage. So sattvic intellect is able to tell this difference. Rajasic intellect is not able to tell this difference. He makes all sorts of wrong decisions. And tamasic intellect, remember? Tamasic intellect does what?
Everything ulta.
Everything ulta, correct. So a sattvic intellect is able to distinguish correctly. A rajasic intellect gets totally confused. Ye karun ki wo karun. That's a rajasic intellect. Tamasic intellect sees everything ulta. Like a sattvic intellect knows where to do dhanam, where not to do dhanam. Rajasic intellect is very confused. You give it to the wrong person at the wrong time. But a tamasic intellect will say Danam is bad. It's bad to do charity. वो उसको सब उल्टा ही दिखता है. So, based on the kind of intellect we have, that's the kind of thing we're going to think. What else are we going to do? Similarly with action. Sattvic action is pure action. What is pure action?
One that's done without any thought of the result.
Very good. But start at the beginning. Something is pure when
it has no impurities. It has nothing mixed in.
It has not no impurities.
Yeah.
It has
Nothing apart
nothing
from
else
it.
else. Yeah.
nothing other than it. So if you say this is a pure sample of gold, what does it mean? There is nothing other than gold in it. If you say this is a pure sample of copper, it means there's nothing other than copper in it. In copper, if there is gold, that's impurity. So nothing else. So purity means there is nothing else. So pure action means there is nothing else in that action. There's only action. So what are these other things we add? What are the contaminants? हम क्या मसाला डालते हैं इस action में? What are the impurities in action? First one is
Desire for the action.
the desire for the action. First impurity we add into action is the longing to do the action. I really want to do it. किसी और ने किया तो मुझे चलेगा ही नहीं. Typical example is that remember we did it. The boy, a young boy gets married. His mother has been giving him 1 glass of दूध every day. So रात को सोने से पहले he has to have 1 glass of दूध. He has to drink 1 glass of milk before sleeping at night. So every day, every night, his mother has been giving him that glass of दूध, that glass of milk. Now he's gotten married. Now there's a tussle between mother and wife. Who will give that milk? Why does that tussle occur? The love for the action. You want to do the action. Nobody but you must do that action. This is a contaminant in the action. That you're doing the action because you like it. You want to do it. This is the first contaminant. What is the second contaminant of the action?
The one for the fruit.
Longing for the fruit. So sometimes we may come to work. We are not longing to come to work. Then why do we come to work? Because we are longing for that salary or that promotion or something. So it may not be that you're longing for the action, but you may be longing for the karma phalam, the fruit of the action. That's the second contaminant. मुझे इससे कुछ चाहिए. And if you escape both of these, which is the third contaminant?
Doership.
The sense of doership. The feeling कि मैं करता करविता हूँ. मेरे सिवाय ये होगा नहीं. It will not happen other than me. We don't understand that none of us can do anything on our own. Everybody must do something till we can do something. Suppose I say, I am taking this class. Is this true? How can it even be true? Can I take a class unless people attend the class? So what am I going to say that I am taking the class? If you all are not there, nobody is here. What class can I take? Talk to myself. Okay, suppose you are there and I am there. So between us, we are doing the class. But that guy who went to work today at the electricity company, if he hadn't gone, we still couldn't do the class. If the internet guy didn't do his job, we still can't do the class. A million things have to happen before we can do anything at all. And yet we feel so strongly that मैंने ये किया. But ये आया कहाँ से notion? How can we do it on our own? Nothing is possible on our own. Suppose we all say, Shah Jahan built the Taj Mahal. Really? He built it? How many thousands of people have done this? We say this pyramid was built by Ramses. Did he really? He built it? how many thousands and thousands of people were involved. So our belief in our importance is the next contaminant in action. When an action does not have a contaminant, it is called,
Pure action.
Pure action.
yes, and pure actions are
Sattvic action.
Sattvic.
sattvic actions. When there are contaminants in the actions, these will be rajasic or this will be rajasic action. These
Okay.
contaminants are there. What is tamasic action?
No action.
No, we're saying tamasic action. So there is an
Ignorance.
action.
Ignorance.
Without any thought.
What? I didn't hear you, Reshmi.
Without an intellectual discrimination.
Ignorance.
Yes, it is done out of ignorance. So when you do fast driving, reckless driving, you do gambling, they're actions, but they're done in ignorance, or they are done without thinking of your abilities or consequences. So you're driving very fast, but you are not Schumacher. Why are you driving so fast? You don't have control over the car. So it will damage you. So those actions which damage you are tamasic actions. The next one we had done was Dhanam. Are you all okay with this so far so good? If you have any question, please ask. Then we had done charity. What is sattvic charity? Desha Kala Patra. You must know what is the right Desha Kala Patra. You must know what is the right time, what is the right place, who is this person you're giving it to. Then that Dhanam is of some consequence. But if you give it at the wrong time, at the wrong place, then that is a rajasic kind of dhan. And what is a tamasic dhan? When you give something which should not be given, like jhuta food, you give away things that you give something with insult. Acha chahiye na to le lo. When you give it with insult, you give something which you should not be giving. Then this is called
Tamasic.
charity. Then what kind of happiness do we experience? Elsie, want to say something?
Yeah. When we do something foolishly, some charity in a foolish way, that also is tamasic, because we are not giving to the right person.
No, then it is rajasic. No, you didn't check the right time, place. It'll be rajasic.
When somebody gave a trade to Ram what is that?
That is sattvic, because her intention was sattvic. Though she is giving, Harry, you won't know this. In India, you don't give what is known as jhuta food. Jhuta is, there's no English word for jhuta. Jhuta means if, I take a bite from a sandwich and then I give you a sandwich. So that's called jhuta food. Jhuta. Okay.
Madam, can I just come in?
Yeah, please.
It may be slightly off track. You might say I'm going off track. But
Okay.
Shabri also, and let me finish. Shabri also did jhuta of every bear before giving to Rama. But what was important was she gave her whole personality to Rama. It's not just the bear, and she self-realized. Now, though we are not allowed jhuta food, here is a classic case where jhuta was done. Of course, she offered a whole personality to Ram, and she self-realized. So, how do you differentiate where to draw the line? What is jhuta and what is not? Is it the mind? Is it the mind that?
No, these stories have a different meaning.
Okay, that I
I
don't
just
understand.
come to it so that Harry, and Joyce and all understand. They won't know what we're talking about.
Even I don't understand the difference. I mean,
Yeah.
I know the story, but I don't know How to
Okay, so
correlate
let's just
from,
get past the Jhutha affair so that they understand, because otherwise they will think, what are these people talking about? So for all those who are not Indian, it's an Indian custom that I think Jhutha means that that what you have enjoyed already, you don't give to somebody else, something like that. I mean, you take a bite of a sandwich, you don't give it to somebody. Or, if you've eaten in a plate, then you don't give it. It's considered to be very rude and offensive to give like that. You don't do this now. The concept is, I don't know how you have explained in the US what Jhutha is, but whatever. Okay, so basically you don't give food which you have had. Now, the story of Shabri is where she does that. And she realizes herself. So the story basically tells you she's done the right thing. Otherwise, how will she realize this? So it's telling you she did the right thing. So how can it be correct? Because our tradition, our culture is totally against this thing.
It's called leftovers.
Leftovers?
Just one.
Okay.
English word.
No, but leftover, something may be left over in the fridge, but I can still give it to you. Oh,
Madam,
okay.
leftover from the plate, I think. What we
Leftover
eat.
in the plate, yeah.
Plate,
Okay,
and
leftover in
not
the
from
plate.
the, what is
Not
in
in
the
the
center
fridge.
before
Yeah.
serving. No, even before serving, if
Yeah.
you've not taken it onto your plate, it's still okay.
Yeah, okay, leftovers. Okay, that's a good
In-
thing, I guess.
in the
Leftovers
plate,
in your
the
plate. Yeah, that makes sense. Harry, when you come to France next month, I'll show you what is Jhutha. You too, Joyce. So where was I? So this Shabri, she gives the Lord, okay, the Lord himself. She gives what in our culture cannot be given to anybody. And she is praised for that. The moral of this story is that it is not the action, but the intention that counts. So I do a lot of so-called good. Let's say we discussed this concept, right, in the class, that a minister builds a bridge that connects a village to a town and thereby brings lots of prosperity to that village. So did that minister do a good act?
Intention. If I was going to get a kickback, though it's a positive.
Even because I wanted their votes.
Whatever.
I didn't do it for them. I did it because I wanted the votes. And so therefore that action does not count as meritorious.
Qualify, okay.
It does not qualify. So it is not your action. Sometimes, somebody comes to our house, we say, Namaste, Namaste, Aiye ji, Baithiye ji, we're all smiles. Say, come, please sit down. But in our mind, we're saying, oh God, I have so much work, why has this person come? So that doesn't make us hospitable people. We have to be hospitable from the heart. So okay, is that okay about Shabri? The story is only to tell us not to get lost in rituals, but the purity of the heart is what counts. Okay, Mr. Chandwani, is that fine? Okay. All right. Now, happiness. Different types of happiness for the tamasic, the rajasic, and the sattvic. What kind of happiness does the sattvic person have? The sattvic person has an happiness that begins as poison and ends as nectar. As poison and ends as nectar. Whenever we do the right thing, we may not immediately feel very good. Suppose you're not going for a walk, and then you get up and you start going for a walk. Then you say, oh, you have to get up in the morning, you have to go for a walk. It begins as poison. But if you keep doing it, then it gives you the pleasure. The walk becomes pleasure. The health that you're going to get out of it becomes pleasure. And you have a long-term pleasure out of it. Rajasic pleasures are those that begin as amrit and end up as visham. They begin as nectar and end up as poison, such as give examples.
Marriage.
Junk food.
No, Elsie, you can't say marriage straight away. Eating lot of, yes. Yes. Yes, eating indiscriminately lots of sweets. Rasgullas, lots of rasgullas. You know, they give
Spending money.
fabulous rasgullas over here. You all should come and rasgulla. What did you gulab jamun? Fabulous gulab jamun they give over here. So it was so good, it was soft and lovely, and so you say, oh wow, this is good, and you eat 10, 20 of them, and that is called rajasic pleasures. They begin as amrit, and then they end up as visham. One way or the other. When you go to the mall and there's something you can't afford and you take out your credit card and you buy it, it begins as amrit. It ends up as poison, visham. Yeah. What are tamasic pleasures? What kind of happiness does the tamasic person have? Is no pleasure in the beginning, no pleasure in the end. Like days when we are just doing nothing, we're just lying in bed, kuch nahi ho raha hai. Watching television, sitting in front of television. It's not like you're enjoying the program or anything. That's why it's called idiot box, because you look like an idiot when you're looking at it. So when you are enjoying a pleasure that is no pleasure, I mean, the only pleasure is in absence of any effort. That's the only pleasure in it. Then that is called tamasic pleasure, which is neither pleasure in the beginning nor pleasure in the end. Now, based on how much tamas, rajas, and sattva we have, Deepak Sethi, you have a question?
Yeah, a quick one, Janki ji. But if you are watching the television and enjoying it, then it would be a rajasic action.
No, we can't say that. It could be a sattvic one also. It depends on what you're watching.
Yeah, meaning at least it's not tamasic.
Yes,
it's not
yes.
coming out of stupor.
Yes, correct.
So similarly, you know, in the book, we've shown a person who's kind of lying down, and we are saying that that's tamasic action. Again, I mean, say the question is that if he's enjoying, yeah, that's it.
No, I'm showing them because they have.
Sure. Yeah. So in that case, if the person is actually enjoying it, then again, it's not tamasic per se. It's just that he's listless. So that diagram perhaps is showing a listless person lying in the bed. I mean, say he's almost like vacant eyes kind of a thing.
That's correct.
Yeah, that's the distinction.
Yeah. So see, sattvic pleasure, he eats healthy food, he goes for his run. Rajasic, he's eating golgappe on the street, so he's fallen ill. And tamasic is, he's just lying in bed, eating his chips, watching television. He's not really enjoying anything, just continuing whatever he's doing. Yeah, time pass. Yes, correct. So now this, what kind of gunas we have determines the caste we are. One of the most criticized aspects of Indian social life is the concept of caste, this Brahmin, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra. Now, where this problem has arisen from is because we believe that your caste is given to you by your father. This is where the problem is. Your caste is not given to you by your father. This is defined in the Bhagavad Gita as Swabhavajam. Swabhava, you understand? Swabhava means nature, your own nature. Jam is a Sanskrit prefix, suffix, which means birth. So Pankaja or Purvaja, Purvo se aya hua. So ja is a prefix that means born of, whatever it is. So you can make words, as you know, Sanskrit is a very liberal language, you can make words. So you can say Ramaja. So Ramaja would mean what?
Son of Ram.
Son of Ram, yeah, correct. Suppose I say Ramaja, then it would be daughters of Ram, daughter of Ram. So ja, if you add at the end, so this is a very nice thing in Sanskrit. A single letter gives you a certain meaning, because Sanskrit is, they used to say about them that if a Sanskrit Pandit can take out ek matra, ardha matra, if you can take out half a matra, then they get sukha like putra prapti. They are as happy as if they've got. So there are many short forms in Sanskrit like that. Ja means knowledge, ka means doer, action, Nya means knower. That's why you have Tantragnya. He who knows the Tantra means he knows the technologies, Tantragnya. Shastragnya, knower of the Shastra, knower of the science. So these are like little, shortcuts for meanings in Sanskrit. So in the Gita, it says that these castes are swabhavaja. That means born of the swabhava. It doesn't say pitruja. It's not born from your father. It is born from your swabhava. So, how is that? Okay, I'll look. So, now how does a person become a Brahmin? If he has like 80% sattva as his nature, then such a person is Brahminic. Such a person is a clear thinker. So what kind of jobs will he do? He'll be a think tank, he'll be advisor, he'll be teacher, he'll be a artist or kavis. The kavis were the wise people. So those were the kind of jobs given to him. Then the Kshatriyas is 80% rajas. It means they're full of action. So active. Then the Vaishyas are where Tamas and Rajas is 50-50. So then they are active, but they're not so active that they will go and find somebody. They're happy to sit in their shops and do a little trading. They're happy with that. And Shudras are when Tamas is 80-90%. That means no thinking. That means they are the kind of people who you have to give work to. And then you have to supervise. So that is Shudra, because there's no thinking involved. Now, when you tell people that you are a Shudra, that's a very wrong thing, because that person has to decide for themselves whether they are or they are not. It's not for us to tell them. And this was a very good way also of helping today. Imagine how difficult it is for the students to find careers. But if they knew this, it would be easy for them. The other thing is, what education should we give people? Now, at least in this country, everybody has to become a graduate. This is very wrong. Neither the Kshatriyas nor the Vaishyas should be sent for graduation. They have to be taught how to do their vocations. Higher education has to be for people who have that ability, that they're thinkers. And so therefore they go to higher education. So their education, their career, their whatever work they did, who they should marry, that's another big question. So who you should marry, as you all know, is based on caste in this country. And then they do all this other matching. But they misunderstood the main thing. Your father may be a Vaishya, but if you're a Brahmin, what will you do marrying a Vaishya? You have to marry a Brahmin. So we have to marry according to our caste, means similar levels of Tamas, Rajas and Sattva. Because imagine if a Kshatriya girl marries a Brahmin boy, he will sit down and study. That Kshatriya girl will say, ki, kuch kaam kyun nahi karte? She doesn't understand that setup at all. It's not in her nature. So that's what we're really talking about. How our own nature makes us think in a particular way. So your caste will be so inherent to you that you'll have to think like that. If you are a Vaishya by nature, you go anywhere, you'll think of business. Even if you go to an ashram, you'll say, if we sell robes over here, achhe bikenge. Because you think like that. And there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong. It's just that that's your nature. That thought will come to you. If you don't have Vaishya Swabhava, a business opportunity may be and staring you in the face, you won't see it. Remember I told you about that chap? He bought that broken down house. He spent a fair money and he bought a house which was totally ramshackle. And people said, are you mad? Why are you buying that thing? It's broken. Pata hai kitna you'll have to spend on it to fix it. But he was a very smart guy. He bought it and then he pulled it down completely. And he made a ton of money because he had noticed that the wood and all in that house was very good. So he made a huge profit in that. Where others are saying that's junk, he made a huge profit because he can think like that. His swabhava is like that. So these tasks, if you know a lot about yourself. Now the question is, where are these gunas coming from? When you have a lot of vasanas, then you're very far away from the self, that is tamas. When you're a little closer to the self, that is rajas. And when you're coming really very close, that is sattva. So it is a matter of your distance from the Atman. Atman is the self, the inherent God principle within us. So the distance from the self is really what your gunas are. And that brings us to how knowledge is relative. Oh my God, lots of questions. 1 second, let me look. Kavita. Kavita, are you new to the class? Kavita, are you there? How to know that our head is talking to us or our heart? Whom to listen in life? That's not exactly on our topic, Kavita. Where are you? Are you there or not? Can't see you anymore. Okay, let's see. Varsha. What's the difference between Swabhava and Swadharma? Varsha, it all depends on which text you're reading. Swabhava means nature. Swadharma also means nature. Some people use the word Swadharma to mean your duty. So it depends on which text you're using. In this class, we use Swabhava to mean nature. Have I finished all the questions? Oh, Nanduri Sampath. The food which we eat daily decides our guna mode. Will our thoughts and actions depend on the food we eat? No. Our thoughts and actions don't depend on the food we eat. The food depends on the thought. The food depends on our thoughts. If we are tamasic, we will choose tamasic food. If we are rajasic, we will choose rajasic food. If we are sattvic, we will choose rajasic food. You will tend towards it. The food doesn't determine the gunas. The gunas determine the food. Okay, I think I have covered everything, right? Okay. So that brings us to how knowledge is relative. It is known in Jainism as Anekantavad. Now, why is this acceptable? Because depending on your distance from the self, you will see it like that. So, from your perspective, that is right. Why should anyone argue with your perspective? So, we studied that, right? Syad asti, syad nasti, syad asti nasti. We don't need to go into the technical aspect of it, but whether you claim it is, it isn't, or it's indescribable, it depends on your distance from the self, meaning on your gunas. None of these tell us the truth. Why Indian society is so easily able to accept that all our different opinions are right is because it fundamentally says that thought comes from vasana. Vasana means absence of knowledge. Absence of knowledge of the self. So whatever you are saying, whatever you are thinking is wrong. Now, since it is wrong, how does it matter where, how wrong you have become? That is why it is fundamentally accepts the various methods or whatever people say is okay. It's like the rope and the snake. You've fundamentally accepted that that snake is false. You've accepted this. Or you accepted that the rope is not seen. Now, whether you're seeing the snake or you think it's a twig or you think it's a crack in the ground, it really doesn't matter. The only person who knows the truth is the one who's seen the rope. Everybody else equal. So they can accept that distinction. Then we studied how the potential, that means the distance from the self. Is this too much for you all? Because they have all studied it. So is it okay with you? Okay?
I understand why knowledge is relative, the perspective that you are bringing to that.
Knowledge is relative, is accepted. All knowledge is accepted. Because fundamentally, knowledge is enlightenment. If you're not enlightened, you don't know. So now you don't know, I don't know. He doesn't know, she doesn't know. Now, why are we quarreling which is better or worse? Because knowledge is only enlightenment as far as we are concerned. If you have not enlightened, then everything is relative. It's like knowledge is like switching on the bulb. You switch on the light, then there's light. Now, suppose this room is dark. Okay, so I am here, you are there, he is there. All right, some distance from that light. But nobody has switched the light on. So it's still dark, no? Why are we arguing who's further and who's behind? It's still dark. Is that clear?
Then in that case, why do we say knowledge
Oh,
is
one
relative?
second, just a second. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, you said that food we eat actually is basically based on our soul, right? So I mean, someone will eating, let's say, so whatever one is eating. So is that justified that he's acting according to his soul or her soul? So can we put in some any kind of value judgment situation? No, we can't say that. If someone is like killing this person, kill himself or herself. So he's just following his soul. So is that, I mean, how to see that?
Yeah, that is why they say knowledge is relative. Now, you can decide this is not something I will do, but you cannot decide what he should eat. That I can say I will be vegetarian or vegan or whatever it is I want to be. I cannot say she has to. Because I don't know, genuinely I don't know whether she should be or she shouldn't be. Because so many factors will determine this. Suppose, for instance, she was living in Tibet. There is nothing to eat there. What can they eat? They have to eat.
But does food not have any impact on your soul? No, that is your soul is by birth or you acquire soul?
Both.
You acquire, you can become
of course. Yeah, you are some. Of course, you are something now, and you can be either the same or different tomorrow. Deepak Sethi?
Yeah, Janki-ji, my question was that we've just said that knowledge is either you're enlightened or you're not. Either the light is on or it is off. That makes it binary. One yes or no. In that context, why do we say knowledge is relative then? Because relative shows that there are grades of darkness and grades of light. So I didn't, can you explain that part?
Yeah. Relative only says that it is whether something is good or bad is relative to the point that you're standing on. Suppose it's a ladder. So am I on a higher rung or lower rung? Depends on what am I comparing it to. So if I compare it to something higher, I'm on the lower rung. If I compare it to something lower, then I'm on the higher rung. So, but basically, one way or the other, I haven't reached the top. So that distinction is not considered too big a distinction. See, let's say two people are poor. Okay, they don't have enough to eat. One gets one dry breadcrumb, or one, like, the side of a bread. He's not going to fill his stomach with that. So we don't make a distinction and say, oh, this one is rich and that one is poor. In that sense.
On the other hand, I mean, say if the distinction was not, supposing somebody had 80% of food which could fill up 80% of his stomach and somebody could get only 10%, then with that gap, you would say that the person, that relative difference would count. It wouldn't be kind of inconsequential.
That is correct, but I gave this example to show that the difference between right and wrong, as long as you're not enlightened, is inconsequential. It is not that much of a difference because you don't know the truth.
So it again is a question of, as we say, the level at which you are looking at it. If you're looking at it from the absolute level, it is inconsequential. If you're looking at the relative level, then it is consequential.
Yes. Then you start having all this relative, I know more than you, I know less than you. So philosophy says you're all crazy. You're all blind men in the elephant.
So knowledge is relative in the relative, meaning in the lower level, it is inconsequential and it is not relative in the absolute sense, because either you're in darkness or you're in light.
That's right.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, so then,
Why is some person is tamasic or rajasic? Okay, so why he is designed to be like that? Why he want to be a tamasic?
He doesn't want to be. The distance from the self is so much that he will be. It's not like he wants to be. He can now want to be different, but what he is. He's not desiring to be tamasic. He is tamasic. But now he can desire to be rajasic. Means to progress, to grow.
Whose choice is that he is tamasic? Like God?
No. His own actions in the past have led to this. Now, if he changes his actions, it will lead to something else. Suppose a very tamasic man, but he says, no, I'm going to go at least for 10 minutes walk in the morning. So slowly, 10 minutes will become 1 hour. That tamas will go away. All right. That's it for today. Hari Om.
Ma'am. Thank
Hari
you.
Om, Janti ji.
Thank
Hari
you,
Om.
ma'am.
Thank you, Janti ji.
Hari Om.
Hari Om, Janti ji. Thank you.
Hari Om, ma'am.